teachers. Welcome to Richland School District 2. Whether this is your first year teaching or you are a veteran teacher and this is your first year in the district, we are thrilled to have you as a part of our Richland School District 2 family. My name is Angel Brown. I'm one of the elementary literacy specialists.
And I am Jessica Jones. I'm the other K-5 literacy specialist.
We're going to guide you through some slides in this video just to acclimate you to some of the resources and the expectations for teaching ELA and social studies in Richland School District 2.
Angel and I.
Go ahead, Jessica.
All right. Angel and I both are assigned schools to work with. So the schools that I will be working with are Bookman Road, Forest Lake, Jackson Creek, Condor, Langford, Lonnie B. Nelson, Polo Road, Rice Creek, Round Top, Windsor, CFA, CFI, CFK, and CFK North.
And the cluster of schools that I work with are listed on the other side of the slide. And those schools are Bethel Hanbury, Bridge Creek, Catawba Trail, Joseph Keels, Killian, Lake Carolina Lower and Lake Carolina Upper, North Springs, Pontiac, and Sandlapper.
So we're going to dive in and first start talking about what you can expect with ELA in Richland 2.
We will begin with our standards. And of course, if you've done an internship here in South Carolina, you are already familiar with these standards. If you're new to the state, hopefully you have had a chance to look on our State Department website and become familiar with the standards that we use here in South Carolina. But I just want to very quickly go through the format of the standards for those of you who may be using them for the very first time. So our standards are organized by strands. So if you see that first arrow up at the top, it's pointing to reading literary text. So you will find within the standards other strands for inquiry, informational text, writing, and communication. Within those strands, you have key ideas, and you can see that right at that second arrow. And the key ideas are principles of reading, meaning and context, language, craft, and structure, range, and complexity. So it's basically breaking the strands down into concepts or, as stated, key ideas for each strand. Underneath the key ideas is where you will find the actual standards. The standards are stated the same for K through 12. Where you find the grade level differentiation is in the indicators. So the indicators will let you know what that grade level expectation is for meeting the overarching standard.
In Richland School District 2, our kindergarten, first, and second grade use the open court curriculum. While we use the open court curriculum, it's important to note that formative assessment is essential during every unit. Differentiation is necessary. The district does not promote a story a week or that every student needs every lesson. We encourage teachers to use the standards as a guideline to what needs to be taught and assessed within each unit. Some of you may have already participated in the virtual training that was provided the week of July 17th. In the event you are not able to participate in that training, the sessions were recorded and they will be accessible on our Literacy Connection sites for your viewing. Even if you did attend the training and you want to go back and reference the video, which is always good and we strongly encourage that, you'll have access to the video as well.
Our 3rd through 5th grade in Richland 2, our 3rd through 5th grade, does not use Open Court. We use we have access to several different resources. Again, as Jessica mentioned, for K through 2, formative assessment is essential for every unit. We don't promote a story a week. Differentiation is necessary, getting to know your kids, meeting them where they are. And again, we just encourage you to use the standards as a guideline for what needs to be taught and assessed. And the resources that we have available are just that, resources to help you meet the needs of your students. So I'll start and just go through a few of these resources that we have available for you. So we do have Treasures. That's right there in the middle. Thank you, Jessica. It's right there in the middle. At the top, you'll see Treasures. And that's a basal. If you're not familiar with Treasures, that's a basal. And you will have access to hard copies of that. If your students are able to go to the school and pick up books, you know, you may send the Treasures basal home with them. I will let you know, though, because that was a state adopted resource, and that adoption has expired, and we have not been funded again yet for reading materials for the state. We do not have online access for that. So if you're using Treasures, you would be using the hard copy of it. Now, by going virtual, you may be able to scan some stories in if you send the books home with your students and use them that way. But that's just one resource. We also have access to ReadWorks and Common Lit, which are online resources where you can pull different texts for students to use in the different genres as well as different levels. You can pull level text from those resources as well. Epic, we have used, Jessica and I both, in our summer camp programs mostly for independent reading. But that's a resource that you have where you can even assign books for students to read on there. It helps you keep track of student time spent reading on that particular site or app. So that's another resource. Newsela, very similar to ReadWorks or Common Lit, a place where you can pull passages and get them out to your students. And then Reading A to Z. All schools have Reading A to Z accounts. Now, you may be using sharing accounts with your teammates. Am I still correct on that, Jessica?
Yes, you are. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you may share an account with your teammates. You will get information on how to log into Reading A to Z. But Reading A to Z, again, another resource where there are a plethora of materials for you to use with students, to use within the structures of the balanced literacy model. They include leveled text, different genres, and just lots of resources there for you to use. But this is what we use to meet the students' needs and to teach the standards for grades 3 through 5 because we don't use Open Court.
For writing, our district uses Units of Study, which is written by Lucy Calkins and her staff developers at the Teachers College for Reading and Writing. We do follow a writing workshop model in our district, and that is a structured time that includes a mini lesson, student writing, and teacher and student conferencing. In regards to virtual learning, you still will be doing writing workshop. Of course, we know it will look different, and we will definitely help support you with that and help navigate through that, but it can be done. You will find an at a glance on the Literacy Connection site. I know that some of you are probably thinking, wow, y'all have shared a lot of information. When are they going to talk about pacing guides? Well, when you get to Literacy Connections, you'll see an at a glance, and that will tell you the units we teach each quarter for units of study. For 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, you'll see that we have added an additional unit in our district. We do a literary analysis unit that really helps students understand that foundation of close reading and really dive in deeply into text. The purpose of the unit is not to focus on TDA are text-dependent analysis. And if you are from South Carolina, if you've done your studying here, you've probably heard a lot of that. If you're joining us from another state, you may not be as familiar with TDA, but that is the type of writing that our third, fourth, and fifth grade students are required to do on standardized tests. This is a unit that we use to help scaffold them into that writing. So it's not a TDA unit, it's focusing really on analyzing literary text. But that information will be found on At a Glance. And some of you even joined us this summer with our Homegrown Institute. So you had an opportunity to kind of experience and dive deeply into the units of study. If you have not, I want to strongly encourage that you use this time, especially since we really are not sure of the start date of school. Use this time to reach out to your reading coach and see if you could get your hands on your kit. Go ahead and register your kit on the Heinemann site. Also, go ahead and create an account on the, and correct me if I'm wrong, Angel, is it the Teachers College for Reading and Writing website?
Yes, that's right.
On that website, when you create an account, they actually have orientation videos that you can view for each grade level. And when I tell you that the videos are extremely helpful, they are extremely helpful. They may be lengthy, up to maybe an hour and 10 minutes at the max, but it is worth your time. So definitely go ahead and start diving into those things before the school year starts, so you could get acclimated with units of study if you're not familiar with it. Anything you want to?
No, but I just want to say that I completely agree with you on those videos. They are phenomenal and extremely helpful. And I'm glad that you mentioned the reading coaches, because we've got several reading coaches who've done Homegrown Institute more than once. We've got quite a few reading coaches who go in and do model lessons with these units of study. And so they are going to be a great resource for teachers coming in. So this is the Richland II Balanced Literacy Model for instruction. And so you'll see there, actually, you see the strands from our standards there. You've got reading, communication, writing. On the books, on the left side of the balance are informational and literary text. So you've got all the strands there, with the exception of inquiry. Inquiry is not represented on our balanced literacy model. And the reason being is that it should really be embedded or threaded throughout all of the components, all of the strands, all of the key ideas, and all of the different structures of the balanced literacy model. And so the structures that we implement in Richland School District 2 for reading: read aloud, shared reading, guided reading, independent reading. And then for writing, it basically mirrors that: interactive writing, shared writing, guided writing, and independent writing. Now, Jessica just talked through the units of study. You hit all of those components in a session. And if you attended Homegrown Institute or have had any previous training with the units of study, you know that interactive writing, shared writing, guided writing, independent writing is a part of workshop daily in the units of study. And then, of course, I'm going to go back to reading for just a second. The structures: read aloud, shared reading, guided reading, independent reading. We target those using the resources that we've shared. You know, your reading coach will be able to help you see what that looks like using OpenCourt. And then, of course, your reading coach will also be able to help you in grades 3 through 5 to see how you can best use those resources that we shared with you to design lessons that include the 4 components of the balanced literacy model.
All right, so just as Angel just went over the balanced literacy model, in our district, we also have an e-learning instructional model, and you probably will be learning a lot about the e-learning instructional model when you are participating in NUDA 2 and beyond. So e-learning instructional model aligns with our district's instructional model. And pretty much what we've done is we've taken our district's instructional model and we've taken those components, which are set a purpose, building engagement, activating prior knowledge, direct instruction, guided practice, independent practice, and closure. And we have outlined what you can expect virtually during each of those components. So let's take a look at that. With setting a purpose, that will include an introductory video. That will also include your overview of your objectives, clear explanation of learning targets, and strategies that build engagement and connect students to prior knowledge. With direct instruction, that will, of course, take place during Google Meet sessions. And for your asynchronous, it will be a teacher-created video. For guided practice, it will be tutorials built into direct instruction, as well as Google Meet. Independent practice, it will consist of online classwork, formative assessment, and really focusing on that quality versus quantity. And for your closure, it will be a review of what was stated as your objective through the video, and it will require students to participate in some type of reflection. Well, in regards to what this looks like in terms of literacy and social studies as well, you'll see that with literacy throughout your e-learning model, you're going to hit on a lot of these structures as you go throughout reading, writing, or social studies. When you attend your math session, you may see a similar graphic that actually breaks down what you can expect in each session for math. And we, Angel and I, have tried every summer to really connect what to anticipate with reading and writing with this instructional model. But honestly, you're going to see it all. Am I right, Angel?
You're right.
You're going to see it all. So
yes.
Independent reading, you're going to see that direct instruction. You're going to have that guided practice where you're modeling. You're going to have time for them to practice independently, and then you're going to bring them back to share and reflect on what actually took place during that independent reading. So it was really hard to kind of box it in per se, but we do want you to be acclimated with this and know that you are going to see all of these components through each section of our balanced literacy model.
That's right. Because literacy, like we said, Jessica, is so fluid. They're going to see literacy across the day. And so they'll see all of those components, like you said, in this model, within this model. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to share this with you briefly. This is a predictable face-to-face instructional daily schedule as it relates to literacy. And again, this is thinking ahead to when we are back in the building 5 days a week with students. That's really when Jessica and I have talked with teachers about this particular schedule. That's really when it's in place, when we are in the building 5 days a week with kids. So for K through 5, the state expectation is 120 minutes for ELA. But that breakdown is that it's 90 minutes of uninterrupted time for ELA, and then all students get 30 minutes of intervention. So that would be the breakdown. And then of course that balanced literacy model you would see within that 90 minutes and then the 30 minutes intervention time. Some schools have a universal schedule where your entire grade level may have it at the same time. Some schools, the classroom teacher actually does the intervention for the tier 2 students, and some schools do not. So again, this is where your reading coach will be able to offer you some guidance with that schedule once we're back face to face. So this is just something for you to think about.
Yep. And in regards to e-learning, as you know, before we even go into detail with this, just where we are right now, things are constantly changing. What we share today may be different in 30 minutes, It may be different tomorrow, and it could definitely be different by next week when you are actually viewing this. However, our district is currently working on a draft, and I'm going to stress that, a draft for e-learning instructional minutes. So where we are now is looking at 45 minutes for reading, 20 for writing, and 25 minutes for science and social studies. And what that would look like is it will be an consist of an alternation. So once again, this is a draft because when we do e-learning, students will receive all subjects as well as related arts and intervention. And you will receive more information about that schedule from your school.
So we want to talk again just a minute about workshop, because that's going to look different face-to-face versus e-learning. Face-to-face workshop, of course, you'd be expected to do your guided reading groups and then design literacy stations for your students to work on. With e-learning, there is still an expectation that you will do guided reading groups. Of course, those guided reading groups would be done synchronously, live with you and the students on screen together. And then for your students who are doing asynchronous work while you're working with guided groups, that's an opportunity for you to design some learning for them that would be similar to work that they may do during workshop at literacy stations. So you will just, look at the activities you're designing. If you have done internship, and then of course, for those of you who are veteran teachers who've already done workshop and you already have some literacy stations designed, just think about how you might modify those to include them on a student pathway for learning, which basically is a format for how your students work through an asynchronous lesson. Okay, so if you're not familiar with student pathway, that's what that would be. So you would just think about your student pathway and the work you're giving to students asynchronously, and allow those to be as closely designed to the work that they would receive at or do at a literacy station. I think I hit all 3 bulleted points.
Very well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so in our district, in regards to formative writing, we administer the following assessments. They are MAP Reading Fluency for kindergarten through 2nd grade, KRA for kindergarten, and note KRA is only administered at the beginning of the year, Easy CBM in kindergarten and 1st grade, and those are students who are in the lower percentile, NWEA MAP for 2nd through 5th grade, and CASE benchmark assessments for 3rd through 5th grade. Now, with the CASE benchmark assessments, our schools that are called TE21 schools are the only schools that currently administer those benchmark assessments for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Those schools are Jackson Creek, Bridge Creek, Polo Road, Windsor, Pontiac, Conder, Sandlapper, North Springs, Killian, Jackson Creek. I'm sorry, I've already said Jackson Creek. Joseph Kills, CFK North, CFK South, Forest Lake, Bookman Road, Lonnie B. Nelson, and Rice Creek.
And Windsor. Did you say Windsor?
I did. I think I've made a mistake on the slide and I have Windsor.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fine.
In addition to these formative assessments, we also do administer the on-demand writing assessments that come with the units of study. And so we administer those assessments with each genre, our unit that the students are going into, and your reading coaches, of course, will help support you with that. Assessments are administered at different times of the year. Not all grade levels, as you see, administer the same assessments. And I've already stressed that not all schools administer the TE21 benchmark assessments. We also have some schools that are total cluster schools, and they do administer MAP to their kindergarten and first grade students. Like I stated before, we know that during this time, this unprecedented time, things are constantly changing. So, what we have shared with you today in regards to assessment what could possibly be different next week. So, please just stay on the lookout. Your administrators will be your first point of contact in regards to getting information out to you about assessments, how assessments will be administered virtually, if they will be administered virtually, and what that will look like. So just stay on the lookout for that and just know that they will keep you informed and give you all the information that you'll need in regards to assessments. Um, it's not up here because it's not a formative assessment, but in our state, we do administer SC Ready at the end of the year for third, fourth, and fifth grade. Last year, as you may or may not know, that was waived. We have not heard statewide if that's going to be waived or not. So that's just one of the things that we just have to kind of sit out and really see how this pans out. It's only the fall, well, really still the summer, but it's not even the spring yet. So we don't know what to anticipate with that. But just know that the district will support you regardless of what the decision is that will be made in regards to assessments.
Absolutely. Okay, we have mentioned more than once the Literacy Connections site. And so if you have not seen other content area videos yet, you will learn that we actually have a landing page for the elementary teaching and learning department. Oh, and Jessica, our name is changing, right? Elementary academics, right?
That is right.
So you may see elementary teaching and learning, you may begin to see elementary academics department. Either way, we have a landing page where there is a link to a website for every content area. So there's Literacy Connections. I don't want to say the names because I may get some of them incorrect, but math has a website, science has a website, and the social studies site, because Jessica and I are also your social studies specialists. We're literacy, which includes ELA and social studies. The social studies site is called the Social Studies Station. So you'll see all of those links on the elementary teaching and learning page. So we have down at the very bottom of this a way for you to walk through the steps to accessing that site. So in the top right corner, if you were logged into your Richland 2 account, your Richland 2 Google account, and you're on a new tab or even your Gmail, you would see, some people call that a waffle. What do you call it, Jessica?
I call it a waffle.
I call it a waffle too, but I've heard other people call it something else and I can never remember what it is. But you see those little dots there above the number 1. That's Jessica's picture there, by the way. So if she emails you or you email her, that's what you're going to see. But you click on the waffle, and then you find sites, find the icon for sites, click on that. And then when you get to a place where you see Richland 2 and there's a search bar, make sure your search bar says search all sites. You may have to drop down to change that. I can't remember exactly what it says sometimes other than search all sites, but unless it says search all sites, you are not going to find the elementary teaching and learning page. So you put that in, elementary teaching and learning, you type that in, search, and then it'll take you to a link for our landing page. Once you're on the landing page, you can click on whatever content you're looking for, but because we're talking about literacy, I'll talk about Literacy Connections. So you'll click on the Literacy Connections site, and there you are going to find resources, tools, and information that you'll need for successful instruction in literacy in Richland School District 2. So some things that are on the site, we have there, it says first grade assessments, but we also have kindergarten assessments. So we have common assessments for every quarter for grades kindergarten and first. So you'll find links there for those. Grades 3 through 5, the literary analysis unit that Jessica mentioned earlier, you will find links to access those entire units. And then, of course, within some of the documents that, these are just a few examples of some of the resources you'll find, because we have, I mean, there's a lot on there for you. But for kindergarten through second grade, you'll find documents that include information on literacy stations, examples of literacy stations that you can create or use with your students. Pacing guides are there that pace out the standards for each grade level. We also have standard support documents that also include resources that you can use to teach the grade, that you can use to teach the standards. Now, those support documents, we have them for, they are very helpful, particularly for grades 3 through 5. So I encourage you to go ahead on Literacy Connection site, just take a look around, click a few links, see what's there. And then, of course, if you have any questions, reach out to your reading coach. Jessica and I, of course, will also be glad to answer any questions. Did I leave anything out, Jessica?
Didn't. Should I pull it up and let them see what it'll look like?
That's fine.
So,
okay, so the link is still active. Okay.
So when you log into Literacy Connections, this is what you'll see. And as Angel said, we have a link for K-5 resources, each grade level. When we do our district writing assessment, you'll have access to that. But once you access the grade level that you are teaching, you'll see your at a glance, your curriculum, your report card rubrics, assessments, any other formative assessments, data that you may need access to. So everything is right there for you, ready to go.
Okay, so we're going to transition from ELA and share just a little bit about some social studies resources, but we wanted to take a pause and have just a moment of humor. I don't know if you all like, well, I call him Dr. Ken from a sitcom that he had a few years ago. I can't remember if it was ABC or NBC, but I can't pronounce his last name, so I just always call him Dr. Ken. And I absolutely love Dr. Ken. If you watch Masked Singer, he is always a hoot on that show. But this meme says, answer to all questions about the coming school year. I don't know. And as we were going through, you've heard Jessica and myself say more than one time, this may change, you know, this is what it is right now. But a part of education just in general, regardless of whether we're in a pandemic, e-learning, a part of education, being a teacher, being in the field is flexibility. Yeah. So sometimes things are going to change like the wind. And then, of course, the way things have been so uncertain, not just in schools, but just in the world lately, you know, things are always changing. So we just wanted to share this moment with you. It's humorous, but it's also a reminder for us to remember we have to be flexible, and we don't always know all the answers. Even if we knew all the answers right now about what school is going to look like when we go back the first day, even if we knew all of that, there would still be something that we may have a question about. And it's okay to not know all of the answers all the time, but Richland 2 definitely has people in place who are here to support you, who are here to walk alongside you and to help you find those answers. If you don't know, you ask someone who's able to support you, and I guarantee you, if they don't know, they're going to find someone who does to help us get the answer.
That's right.
I want to share that with you.
All right, so next we're going to transition into social studies and what you can expect with social studies in Richland 2. So just as Angel shared, our standards format for ELA, Here's the standards format for social studies. So I would be remiss if I didn't first state that this year in Richland School District 2 will be our first implementation year of the 2019 social studies standards. So this will be our first year teaching the new standards. So you can expect a lot of learning together, bouncing ideas off together, and definitely a lot of professional development support, not only from us, but teachers that we've had help us this summer work on curriculum and pacing. So with the social studies academic standards format, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but over here in the first column, you'll see the theme. And we have a theme to go along with each, I guess, area, if you will, in our social studies standards. So what we're looking at, for example, is revolution and identity. Then at the top, the first row, you'll see the standards. So just like with ELA, we have our standard, but you also have at the bottom, you have your indicator that's going to go into more depth in regards to what you're going to cover to achieve that overarching standard. Then you have your enduring understanding, which pretty much breaks it down so that you understand what it is that you're going to be covering for that standard. I know sometimes as teachers, we get so excited about topics that might be presented within a standard, and then we end up teaching things and covering things that we don't necessarily need to touch on with that particular grade level. So definitely make sure that you're getting acclimated with your standards and enduring understanding. Don't read over that part because that's really going to help you focus on the big ideas that will have that lasting input within your classroom and beyond that year. And I failed to mention, not only do we have our indicators, as you see, but each indicator is coded. So you can see the coding system that we will use for the indicators that will translate on your lesson plans.
Jessica, can I say something about that coding?
Yes.
So the letters in that coding will represent a particular skill that indicator is hitting on. So for standards that are related to history, they're called historical thinking skills. And so it might be compare and contrast. I don't know why the CE is escaping me right now, but you'll see other codes there, but those will align with the skills for the particular indicator.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So our pacing guides for social studies will be found on the social studies station. And so what we've done is combined our pacing guide with a curriculum resource guide that teachers have helped us to create this summer. So Jessica, if you'll open that up, we can look at what the pacing guide looks like. They're going to look the exact same for each grade level. You can see how it's structured here. On the far left, you'll see what quarter you're in for the particular content that's addressed. Then you see the week of that quarter that you will work on a particular unit or concept. And then the unit or key concept that you see listed there, that comes from, if you remember that column where Jessica showed the theme, on the standards, that comes from that part of our standards. And then you have your standards and indicators, and then the number of days that's suggested to spend teaching those particular standards or indicators, okay? So as you move down the document, you'll see for each standard, it will be outlined in a row above the indicators that address that standard. In that box with the standard, you'll see a link that says resource link. When you click on that, you will find resources to help you address the indicators underneath that standard. Jessica, does that make sense? Is that clear?
That is clear.
Okay.
This is just a sample of what you'll see when you click on that link.
Yes. So you have the topic there. You see the standard, it's standard 1, which is at the top. And then you'll see the indicator in the color filled box there. The purple color filled box is the first indicator for this particular standard. And then you will see whatever resources teachers have been able to curate to meet that indicator will be listed underneath the particular type of resource that they found. So literature or text, you'll see some links there, web resources, teacher resources, where we have been or where teachers have been able to find primary resources, those will be linked. And then in that far column where it says indicators that can be addressed through these resources, where there's a connection between another standard for this content or a connection to another standard and another content, you'll see that listed here. So where there are opportunities for integration, sometimes, particularly with 3rd grade, we've had opportunities to integrate science with our social studies. So if there are any connections like that that teachers have found, you'll find those indicators for those subject areas listed in the far right, again, to give opportunities for integration.
So just as we showed you how to access our Literacy Connection site, here is our social studies station that houses all of the resources that you will need for social studies. So on this site, you will find your content and standards, as well as pacing guides that we just showed you an example of. You'll find other resources that will help you with planning. You will find any lead teacher meetings, that's what we call them, which you may or may not have heard a little bit about this, but every school has a teacher that is assigned to a subject area, and you represent your school on the district level. So that means you will come to quarterly meetings with myself and Angel in regards to ELA and social studies, whether they're face-to-face or virtual. But when we have those meetings, the agendas and or presentations from those meetings will be housed in the business section. So just to give you a little taste of what you can expect with the live website, when you go, and once again, when you click on the links and just play around with it, you'll see that all of the resources you need will be right here. Now, of course, you may see right now where it says 2019 Crosswalk Curriculum Guides under construction. This was work that we did last year. We are in the process right now of updating everything on our website. So this, by the time you go to it, will look a little differently. So don't freak out because it doesn't look the same, but we have really worked hard this summer to make things easier for you. So we have really worked hard to put everything that you need on the pacing guide, so you only have one place to go to versus several different links. Just to show you real quick, the resources, here are some resource links that will be helpful for you, like I shared, as you are planning. Angel has worked very hard to create this list for us. So definitely, as well as other teachers have given input as well. So definitely check this out as you are going through with planning. Anything you want to add with that, Angel, or
No, that's it. That's good. You did a good job with the social studies station, Jessica.
Thank you, Angel.
You're welcome. All right, so we are coming to the end of our presentation time with you all. What'd you say, Jessica?
Leave it.
I know. I can't either. So we just want to leave you with this quote: a teacher affects eternity. He or she can never tell where his or her influence stops. So that's just a reminder that regardless of whether we're e-learning or face to face. We touch lives that touch other lives, that touch other lives. So teachers are like those pebbles that drop in a lake and they ripple out. You never know where your influence will stop. So we encourage you to have a great year this year. Following this presentation, you will see a link to a Google form where you can submit questions. If you have any questions from this video, if you'll submit them on the Google form, Jessica and I will be answering some of those questions during our synchronous time with you. If you have not watched the video, by the time we do the synchronous time, you will also have received a link, otherwise, the same link to submit questions. So either way, you will receive a link to submit questions that Jessica and I will answer for you, whether we do that synchronously or if we have to email you individually.
Yes, and in regards to the opportunity for you to ask questions, we will also be sharing our contact information with us. So feel free to email us once you have had the opportunity to ask questions and receive your answers during the synchronous time. If you still have further questions, definitely reach out to us and just think back to that slide that we shared in regards to which content specialist works with which school. We are super excited to see you guys soon, even though virtually, and we look forward to the opportunity to hopefully meet you face to face this school year. We wish you nothing but the best. Take it one day at a time. Remember to breathe. We're all in this together. You guys are lucky to be a part of Richland School District 2. You will receive a tremendous amount of support, and we look forward to working very closely with you.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.